Screen at least, and we're gonna just, as soon as Sims loads and I can put Sims where they want to be, where they need to be, not where they want to be, they're not allowed to be where they want to be, they need to be where I need them. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Sharpest Tool episode 6, Clean and Protect the Wound. We only have a couple more episodes left after this one, so we are winding down. There's a lot going on in the show. I feel like this one's gonna feel a little different. We got a lot of things to focus on before we get into our last couple episodes of the season, so we're gonna be spending a little bit less time with our leads, so hopefully you don't mind that. Since we have a lot of side plots, I kind of need to get going here. So let me go ahead and, not freak the stream out. Oh, Jesus, I should have. Let's put some walls up. Without further ado, thank you for being here. Let's jump into episode 6. So we are getting started on our administration office here. It is early morning, just as the sun's about to come up. And instead of a certain male face that is usually in the office whenever we see Dmitri, it's actually Yazmin this time, as she's a bit more confidently than Caesar usually does it, strolling on in here to talk to the headmaster, as they've been conversing for just a little bit here. Yazmin's been filling him in on some things as we joined them. Not going to put them in an actual conversation just because I feel like he's going to stand out of the chair and I don't want that. Just we'll pretend they're conversing here. As Dmitri kind of thinks over the things that Yazmin's been telling him and thinking about it and getting into it with her, like, so, Diana's old work, huh? Yazmin reporting what she has learned from the last club outing to him, nice and proper. Yes, sir. As Dmitri continues on, just sort of fidgeting with his pen himself, deep in thought, thinking, I myself haven't looked at that in ages. As Yazmin continues on, yes, it seems that Florence is the one who gave them her old notes. Dmitri kind of scowling at that a little bit and replying, ugh, figures. If you can gain enough of Birdie's trust to where they allow us and only us to access whatever knowledge they do discover, then perhaps Florence's meddling will pay off for once. Yazmin, seeming a little bit excited about that and appreciating being brought in so much by Dmitri lately, and nodding enthusiastically, saying, yes, I completely agree. As Dmitri kind of follows that line of thought, asking, how close are you guys anyways? Close enough for them to reveal that, at least, it seems. Yazmin saying, we're getting there. I'm not sure how much they truly wanted to reveal that information to me, but I have my ways to get things out of people, so I'll just keep pushing, and I know I can form a real bond eventually. Dmitri seeming pleased with that answer for now, pleased with Yazmin's honesty, and she's been proving her worth so far, as he says, all right, well, keep me informed. Now, did you get the stuff? As Yazmin again enthusiastically nods and places a big duffel bag on his desk, full of plenty of different strange bits and baubles, as she says, yes, sorry, sir, that it took a bit to find some of these things, but it should be all right there. Dmitri smiling as he starts to sift through all the objects in the bag, nodding to himself, saying, yes, excellent. As Yazmin just continues kind of trying to keep up the conversation, as Dimitri's attention is mainly shifted to whatever she's brought to him, not necessarily her, but Yazmin not really wanting to end this meeting yet, saying, yes, it's pretty peculiar ingredients. I mean, I've researched some pretty high-level spells at this point, but I've never seen some of those objects even mentioned, and Dmitri just wholly ignoring her as he continues to pull out different feathers and bones and jars of goop from this bag. Yazmin continuing on. If they're really high level, I'd love to shadow you, learn from your technique, or provide a helping hand if you need someone to grind herbs or hold spoons or something. Dmitri just still completely ignoring her until Yazmin prods a little more, trying to, gather some information, similar in the ways that they've been talking to Birdie, but Dimitri's a little bit more advanced than Birdie, of course, as Yazmin starts. I mean, the only time I've really seen 𝕬𝖆𝖵𝖘𝖙 is in dark. Dmitri just cuts her off there, sternly saying, Yazmin, her kind of startling a little bit, but used to his sternness, immediately quieting up, though, and just saying, as Dmitri continues on. One of the reasons that I like you is that you don't ask questions. As Yazmin kind of gets the message as Dmitri stares her down, saying, right, sorry, sir. Dmitri going back to completely ignoring her as he just says, that'll be all for now. Yazmin somewhat sheepishly leaving the room, just kind of bowing and getting out of his hair, letting him continue on. Kind of shakes her head at them and joins them over in the living room. Lynx continuing on, helping Maya with her battle stance. Being like, alright, now raise your arms a little more. Maya retorting, this is exactly how I was standing a minute ago when you yelled at me. Lynx firing back to, no, it's not my fault that it clutch like you can't see the subtle differences. Birdie kind of gathering their coat and bag and such. Clearly ready to leave the house once again. As Birdie chimes in, I don't know, I would be inclined to believe Maya. She's got a great attention to detail. Maya looking kind of smug and appreciating her best friend's input there. As Lynx just says, nah, you weren't here. Overruled. Birdie just kind of smirking at them and saying, so you helping Maya become Bruce Lee then? I'll let them practice their powers for once, I guess, since that's technically what they are doing in story as well. As Maya responds to Birdie saying, well, since I, absolutely destroyed her, Lynx's eyebrow kind of raising at that as Maya doesn't really realize the entendre what she's saying. Continuing on, in our sparring the other day, I figured, I might have a chance at actually becoming not decent at fighting as well. So I asked if she would give me a couple pointers outside of league time. As Lynx jumps in saying, the other day was a complete fluke, but I wasn't going to pass up a chance to watch her embarrass herself, so I said yes. You're welcome to join my master class, from the most kick-ass person on campus, if you would like as well, Birdie. Maya looking kind of excited and, clapping a little at that prospect as Birdie continues to put their bag over their shoulders and saying, as fun as that sounds, I think the sparring is a bit of a lost cause for me. Maya pushing on and saying, well, maybe, some pointers would help. Birdie kind of still pushing back and saying, I'm very glad that you're both finding your niches, but I've had plenty of pointers and they have not helped on the physical or mental side. Maya still trying to be encouraging, though, and say, you just haven't found the right area yet. You're like a genius. There's definitely something that you'll excel at. As Birdie kind of shakes their head going, oh my god, you sound like Yazmin. Listen, I'm proud of both of you, but regardless, I have to get going anyways. Lynx kind of chuckling and saying, Jesus, you're making me seem like a homebody lately. As Maya starts to kind of pout and say, yeah, no, I miss you, B. Birdie's starting to look a little sad too as they stare at Maya going, no, don't give me the puppy dog eyes. I miss you so much too, but I'm sorry, I'm really, really close to figuring some things out. Some major things, I think. Once I do, we will spend so much time together that you will regret asking, okay? Pinky promise. Maya not loving the answer, but accepting it for now. Just saying, remember what I said about not working yourself too hard? As Birdie's like, yes, no, I know, I promise I'm not. I'm so close, I need to figure this out, alright? Love you, as Birdie finally finishes gathering the things and heading out for the day, heading out to continue their research there, as Maya just kind of rolls her eyes and turns back to Lynx, saying, well, I knew that was a lost cause, but I at least gotta try. Lynx saying, yeah, and like how you're trying when it comes to your fighting stance. Maya seeming a little offended at that, going, hey, I could say the same about you, miss. Meditation time is Twitter time. Lynx going, yes, but we are not talking about me right now. Now, Duke's up, nerd, as the two of them get back into fighting once again, as it was an eye roll for Maya. As we are joined down here in the lower dredges of the lair, yet again, where Hero is still being held prisoner, of course. Just, he's gonna keep moving his hands, just pretend that they're still tied to the chair. You know, he's being kept captive here, looking a little bit more worse for wear than he has in the past. A bit bruised and bloody at this point, after a few different interrogation sessions, as now currently Caesar is in here keeping guard, keeping an eye on Hero, but not paying too much, mind to him. Simply just standing in here, keeping an watch to make sure Hero doesn't try anything, as Hero's still kind of trying to strike a conversation with Caesar, though, and goad him on a little bit. Fuck with him a little as he's his guard, Hero being like, damn, I win again. I think you'd be better not blinking, Watchman. Caesar just kind of snapping his gaze over to Hero again and saying, shut it. I'm not playing a staring game with you for the last time. And as Hero smirks, trying to still kind of fuck with Caesar, the door starts to kind of open as one Clementine, of course, starts to try and enter, but as she is, Caesar kind of ushers her back out of the room, much to Clementine's confusion and disgruntled expression, as Caesar says, looks at Clementine's questioning look and tells her, you're not allowed in here anymore. The headmaster gave the guard duty task to me. As Clementine continues on, I mean, that doesn't mean that I can't enter. I guess I should have them argue here. Not just friendly chat. Argue about who's better, sure. As Caesar replies, yes, it does. I have direct orders to keep you out, actually. As Clementine starts to look a bit upset at that, saying, what the fuck, are you kidding me? Caesar going, I'm sorry, Clementine, but you're the one who kind of shot yourself in the foot here. Clementine backing up a bit at that and saying, you're joking, because I tried to stand up for myself at the stupid meeting. Caesar saying, yes, because you were stupid enough to talk out of turn at a full council meeting. What were you thinking? Clementine pushing back at that and going, just because you don't have the backbone to ever think about standing up against Daddy doesn't mean that I don't. Caesar is starting to get a bit upset now and getting in Clementine's face, going, what the hell does that mean? Clementine saying, you know what it means. He treats you like garbage and you're at his beck and call still. Don't think I didn't notice how you did absolutely nothing at that meeting. Caesar's still kind of confused what exactly Clementine's yelling at him about now. Just going, what are you talking about? Clementine continuing, I sat there and got silenced by him. And you sat there all prim and proper and just let it happen. Caesar replying, starting to feel like a little bit sheepish, but still backing himself up and saying, what was I supposed to do that wouldn't have ended up with me in the same exact position, or both of us maybe being silenced for good? Clementine just going, you could have at least tried. I know that you're a spineless ass kisser, but when it came down to it, I at least thought that you would stand up for your own sister instead of that power-hungry asshole. Caesar's starting to look a little ashamed at that as Clementine puts it in those words, just sort of staring at the ground as Clementine continues on, saying, lowering her voice a little bit and making sure no one else is listening before saying, see, you know that this is my plan. That's my prisoner. This was my doing. Caesar's starting to protest and saying, I don't know. It's Clementine going, yes, you do. You've known that this has been my idea. This has been my plan that I've had for months. You know that there's no way Dmitri went out into the wild and did this himself. I just don't know why I waited so long to take things into my own hands. Because clearly, you were never going to do a damn thing or ever tell him about it. As Caesar still just kind of stares at the floor, sheepishly taking it what Clementine's saying. Not necessarily disagreeing with her, but not really knowing what to say to calm her at this point, or, you know, what to even think about everything that's been going on. As Clementine just kind of shakes her own head at Caesar's silence, even as she's calling him out on all of this stuff. Almost talking to herself at this point, just saying, God, and I still make decisions based on you for whatever reason. Caesar looking back up at her at this point and going, what does that mean? Before Clementine just shakes her head again, saying, nothing. Look, the least you could do is just let me in there and continue the plan that is rightfully mine. Caesar not really responding to that, but Clementine, tiring of even trying and walking past, realizing that Caesar didn't necessarily say she could enter, but he's at least not stopping her from entering the room at this point, as she walks in and heads over to the table and starts to pull out a couple of the pouches that Aster gave her last time that she was at the camp, and preparing some of them for Hero, as Hero strikes up a conversation with her, going, sounded rough out there. Clementine just kind of brushing him off, going, I don't know, we're twins, we fight, it's not that big a deal. As she's finished preparing one of the little pouches to go give to Hero, and he says, I mean, I can see you trying to keep yourself tame. Why? As Clementine is, as he said, trying to take her deep breaths, and, you know, her glowing eyes kind of going in and out as she is upset, but trying to not let it overtake her. As she says, I just didn't mean to get that heated, it's fine, whatever. Hero kind of egging her on more and going, I mean, it's just us in here. Let your primal side out if you want. If you're that upset, there's nothing stopping you except yourself. Clementine just kind of ignoring him with that and giving him the pouch. Hero going, God, you League members are whipped. As Clementine just continues to ignore him there, and I'm just trying to get into conversation really quick. Watching him take a few big gulps from the real blood pouch there, and as she takes a look at some of the wounds on his face, going, are you holding up alright? It seems like Dimitri's really been putting you through hell down here. As Hero responds, yeah, it's not fun, but it's what Mother wants, and as long as you can continue to give me the real juice, kind of shaking the pouch instead of that fake shit, then I can recover faster. As Hero's saying that, and Clementine's noticing that a few of the scrapes and bruises on his body do seem to start to look a little bit better, you know, quite quickly, almost in front of her eyes. Clementine sort of surprised, going, oh, is that how fast it usually happens? Hero continuing on, power of real blood, baby. They teach you nothing here? As Clementine sort of sheepishly continues, I mean, we don't really broach the topic of feasting on humans. It's sort of against our cause. Hero just chuckling at that and going, alright, against the cause, more like against your own interests. You sound plenty wrapped up in their propaganda. I have no idea why Mother offered you a place among us, as he continues to sip on the pouch, definitely catching Clementine's attention at that, as she goes, what? How do you know that? Vampires can't read each other's minds. Hero responding, no, I have a mental link that Mother's set up between us for this task, so I don't say anything that she doesn't want. Then I would experience real pain. Before Clementine just kind of brushes off the last thing and saying, a mental link, like a brainwave channel, that's only possible for master vampires, and even then, it's really taxing to keep in place. Hero, yet again, just kind of raising his eyebrow at Clementine, going, God, they really do keep you in the dark. Maybe on your faux food it's that taxing, but with the real deal, there's so much more power at your disposal. Clementine clearly taking in his words and really thinking on that for a while, as Hero notices how intensely she really is paying attention to what he's saying before, hi neighbors, before kind of shaking the pouch to see how much is left in it. As there's, it's getting pretty low, but there's still a little bit left, and sort of holding it out to Clementine, going, here. Clementine backing up a little bit, surprised at that, and asking, oh, what? Hero goading her on a little bit more, again, pushing the pouch further towards her and saying, no, try it. As Clementine starts to sort of protest, like, I don't. Hero going, I mean, have you ever? As Clementine kind of shakes her head no, before Hero says, try it, and see how much better you feel. As Clementine kind of stares at the pouch of real blood that she has from Aster, that she's been giving Hero all this time to make sure that he's still being nourished, and really thinking about all the things that he's been saying, and thinking about her position lately before she almost reluctantly, but considering what's the harm at this point if there's all these property, there's all of what Hero's been saying is true. And Clementine grabs the pouch of real blood and takes her first sip of human blood for the first time. As we head back to the little science lab that we've seen a few times now, as it is plenty after hours at the school, of course, no real school times going on, but Birdie and now Lin are both here after class, working late into the night as they have been. Lin, of course, helping Birdie out a little bit, even if he doesn't really have the context of what he's helping out with any at this point, but he's using the microscope, analyzing some samples here. Here's another scene where just go with what I have canon, don't think I know science things. Shh. As Lin is going ahead and analyzing some blood samples on slides over here, and Birdie is continuing to do research, log things, work on, all the top secret stuff that they've got going on here. Keeping most of the documentation away from Lin over here as they're looking into stuff, and Lin is actually finishing up with what he is analyzing at the moment, and placing the slide to the side, saying, and that's the last one, same sequence as the rest. Birdie sounding a bit disgruntled and going, as the rest? Lin saying, as in perfectly normal, like the rest? Yep. Birdie kind of just deflating and going limp in their chair, going, are you sure? As Lin comes over to them, Birdie is standing up as well, and Lin going, yeah, totally, I triple checked, of course. Birdie, Lin noticing that Birdie does seem like kind of upset and frustrated at the answer, as Lin goes, are those all the samples that the company gave you? I mean, sometimes abnormalities can be really hard to find, especially with such a little sample size. I mean, is there any way you can get another blood sample or more? Birdie going, yeah, I can. It's just, how many do we look through and continue to get nothing from? As Lin, doesn't want his lab partner here to be too disgruntled, trying to help him up with any solutions here, going, are there any other patients? I mean, you said it's like a super rare disease that you're studying, right? Birdie going, yeah. As Lin says, I mean, other blood types, other patients might be beneficial to study. Birdie thinking on it, knowing that, there are some other people that they could probably get some blood samples from, but how much do they want to reveal to those people that they are kind of studying the whole vampiric cause in the first place? They haven't really decided yet, as Birdie just kind of sighs and says, I mean, I'll see what I can do. Lin kind of patting their arm and saying, hey, if you're sure that there's something here, if that's what you say, then I'm sure that there is. These things can take a while sometimes. Don't get disgruntled, okay? Don't get discouraged. I think that, I think we're on the right path. We can find something. Trying to cheer Birdie up as, it is kind of working, and Birdie notices that Lin's gaze kind of goes behind them for a second, though, as he says, sorry, this is a closed lab right now, as, Birdie themselves actually turns around and sees who Lin is talking to, and instead of just some random student that has happened to wander into the lab, it's actually Yazmin, much to Birdie's surprise. As Birdie goes, oh, sort of awkwardly looking between Lin and Yazmin. Yazmin seeming a little smug as Birdie continues. Hi, Yazmin, what are you doing here? Yazmin saying, oh, well, I know that you spend a lot of your time in the lab, and, it's just been a couple days since we really touched base, so figured I might be able to find you here. As Birdie looks a little sheepish at that, knowing that they have kind of been ignoring Yazmin and sort of trying to skirt around her a bit ever since the club outing, where Birdie did admit a little bit more of what they have been working on as far as studying some of Diana's old notes more than they were planning, and kind of letting out to Yazmin as well. And after that blunder, Birdie's just been wanting to kind of keep some space between them. There, Lin looking thoroughly confused between the two of them as the interaction and tone in the room has definitely turned a little bit more tense and awkward than it previously was. Birdie finally kind of replying to Yazmin, being like, yeah, sorry, just been really busy with school and such, I've just been at the lab after class all the time, working on my thesis, so just not really had time for our, Birdie kind of, stuttering a little bit and glancing over to Lin before glancing back at, Yazmin saying, our, chess club, but I'll hit you up soon to schedule a game. Yazmin, seeming far too smug at Birdie's uncomfort, which Birdie also doesn't appreciate. Yazmin going, okay, yeah, as long as you're just, busy, but there's plenty of different moves I'd love to teach you, and I'm sure that I have lots to learn from you, too. I mean, what you shared with me last time we met up, I'd really like to look into a little bit more with you, and I just think that I could help a lot. And I mean, if you wanted any help with homework and such, I know that I'm not a biomed major like you, but I've always been pretty good at science, and I had to take organic chemistry for my own major a while ago, so I wouldn't mind joining you guys here, you and as Lin kind of looks over and goes, Lin, hi. As he kind of awkwardly shakes her hand, Yazmin sort of giving him the once over at his awkwardness. Lin not exactly sure how to conduct himself in this conversation. As Yazmin's like, yeah, you and Lin, who's helping you out in here. Birdie not really taking the bait though, and just going, yeah, well, that's okay. We've just been, it's a project we're working on together. It's not necessarily something that I need any more, help with. Oh, please don't do this right now, Sims. Shh, they're not doing that. There's a human in the room. As, yeah, Birdie's kind of continues on, yeah, nope, we're coming along fine. Just, needing to do the work together, so, since it's boring, you don't need to stick around, and I'll catch up with you soon, promise. If you could get out of here though. Yazmin understanding the tone, but just being like, okay, yeah, I mean, you did sound a little bit frustrated when I walked up to the lab there, so I guess let me know if there's anything you want help with, but otherwise I'll get out of your hair, and I count on getting a call from you soon. Birdie, just sort of awkwardly nodding, yep, sounds good, chess buddy. As Yazmin does finally leave the room, Birdie definitely breathing out a sigh of relief as they glance over the table to make sure that they didn't have too much of Diana's stuff or some of the notes that they've been taking on this research out and about for Yazmin to have seen, as Lynn is just kind of she seemed nice. Birdie just kind of chuckling at that and going, yeah, sorry. Chess club can be a little needy sometimes, but I'll make sure she doesn't bother us again. Lynn just kind of wanting to press a little bit and being like, yeah, I mean, seemed like you guys didn't necessarily get along the best there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to overstep or anything. Birdie going, no, it's fine. Yeah, we haven't really been fast friends, but she can just be a little nosier than I like. And I mean, as you know, this is top secret stuff for that company I'm working for, so I just don't really want any other outside eyes on it. But like I said, let me worry about her and we can forget that happened. But we should probably turn in for the night. Lynn, not wanting to push any further though. Like, yeah, no, of course. I mean, thank you for letting me put my eyes on this project then, if it is so top secret. I appreciate that you trust me. What do you mean? Like, well, you have not given me any reason not to trust you so far. Lynn not really knowing what to do with the exact intonation of that sentence, but wanting to drop the conversation as Birdie's clearly not the most comfortable talking about whoever that was that just interrupted them as we join our crew in the training arena at the lair again as a typical affair. Lynx and Blake are doing some sparring and training as Maya and Lena are doing some meditation training over here. Both Lynx and Maya kind of focusing on their niches. You know, they've been dabbling in the other arena, of course, as it is good to be able to defend yourself, at least as Blake was explaining, and you know, mental stability is still good to make sure that they can keep their powers under control and such, but as much as they've been trying to be well-rounded, you know, they definitely, both of these two have found their niches, as Blake is really showing off over here, and Maya has really been focusing on the mental aspect lately, as that's really where she's been excelling, of course, and Lena is kind of just guiding her through meditation, of course, as she's been doing really well, but every time she kind of gets to that more weightless feeling, like Lena and both Florence have described in training with Maya so far, Maya kind of pulls back because it is a little intimidating to let yourself go like that, but Lena's just trying to coach her through it one more time, as Lena's saying, all right, like, I know, I understand, but, like, you know, you are in trusted hands here. You are safe. You are safe to just let yourself go. Let your brain just forget anywhere in the second you feel that weightless fit. I can see your brow furrowing, I know, but just, like, hold on to it. Hold on to that feeling. Don't push it away. Just, like, push through that, push through those worries and fears. Don't worry. Like, you can do it. Kind of just generally encouraging Maya along, as she really does want to try and figure out how she can focus on this weightless feeling and get to, like, true dark meditative state. And finally, for the first time, actually being able to really focus on that, as Maya, almost without necessarily realizing it herself, does begin to float and is able to do dark meditation for the first time. Lena jumping up in the air and clapping and cheering, but trying not to break Maya's focus, stopping herself right away and being like, oh, no, yes, okay, no, you're sorry, you're you're doing it. Lynx and Blake also looking over and stopping their sparring, as Lynx is like, whoa, all right, that was pretty impressive, nerd. Lena clapping and jumping up and down and running over to Maya now that she's sort of startled out of it, looking at down at her own hands, a little bit startled by what she was able to accomplish, being like, I did it, was I floating? Lena being like, yes, oh my god, that was so good, you're so impressive. As she, I don't know if I can get them to hug. I thought maybe I'd be able to. Oh, maybe not. Maybe they're not close enough yet in the game. Yeah, we'll wait to Maya's feelings at least. We'll pretend she runs and gives Maya a big hug there, kind of startling Maya a little bit, and being like, oh my goodness, you're progressing so well, that is so impressive. Like, being like, you know, yeah, look at you, fledgling, you're both coming along pretty well, but that's an impressive level to reach after such little time. Lena kind of continuing on and being like, yeah, I mean, after even like the club, and you're able to, just kind of at least have like the small bits of persuasion, mental persuasion, and now already being able to, dark meditate. Hey, even me, it took like a month to get to that stage. You are progressing so incredibly well, making Maya kind of blush, embarrassed at all of the praise, but definitely appreciating it as Maya's perfectionist self does, like hearing that. She is doing well, of course. A little bit giddy, still a little scared at giving into those feelings here of letting the power kind of into her more, but definitely feeling powerful, at least as Lena's still praising her, and a slow clap is kind of heard as they all sort of startle and turn around. Headmaster Dmitri Solomon entering the room, stopping his slow clap as he sort of stops short in front of all of them, the levity of the air in the room kind of leaving as he stops in front of the crew and says himself to Maya that, yes, that is pretty impressive feat for a fledgling to reach within. How long have you been with us? Maya, seeming a little bit worried, but not wanting to cause any trouble by not responding, of course, and saying, a little bit over a month now, as she notices Dmitri kind of scowling at her a little bit before awkwardly tacking on a sir. Dmitri seeming a little bit more appeased at that and going, yes, quite impressive indeed. It seems that Lena's been training you well, as Lena's kind of awkwardly shifting back and forth a little bit on the balls of her feet. Lynx and Blake just sort of awkwardly watching on, as well as Lena says, thank you, sir. She's just sort of reaching that point, so we should probably get back to it. Been hard at work so far. Definitely unsettled by Dimitri's presence in here and not really wishing it to continue much further, but Dmitri doesn't pay her much mind. Who is he to take any kind of suggestion from one of his underlings, of course, before just continuing to address Maya and saying, well, with such impressive powers and what a great bond you two clearly have, I would imagine that Lena's discussed some things with you. Lena is starting to look a little bit more nervous now as Maya doesn't really know how to respond to Dmitri, as Dmitri doesn't want to get too explicit but push a little farther, saying just some other proposals that perhaps might interest you. I'm sure Lena's at least broached the topic, right? Kind of implying that he's talking about the League of Protectors conversation, of course. Maya's still looking confused, though. Lena gulping next to her, but Maya saying, I don't know, sir. Trying to look between him and Lena, not sure what the right response here is, as she fears that she did not give the correct one, with Dimitri's features falling again, but turning his attention to Lena this time, who almost jumps a little with his gaze turned to her. Dmitri saying, oh, really? So Lena's maybe not brought anything up with someone with such impressive powers so far. Lena's starting to shakily say something before Blake actually just steps in front of Lena and cuts her off, saying, it was my idea, sir. I told her not to. As Dimitri's attention immediately snaps over to Blake, scowling at him and saying, and why not? As Blake says, I was the one who didn't think it was appropriate. It wasn't on Lena at all. Looking back to Lena, giving her a little bit of a reassuring glance, is Lena's heart still beating out of her own chest. Dmitri still expressing disappointment, glaring down at Blake and saying, well, that's most disappointing to hear. I advise maybe you guys rethink things if you would like to continue being in the position you are. Continue with your training, I suppose. Giving him sort of a judgmental look over before leaving the room here. Lena's breath, kind of letting out her breath, and her going over to hug Blake as well, just saying, oh, thank you, as Blake's like, yeah, no, for sure. Maya and Lynx sort of sharing a confused glance between the two of them, not quite sure what happened. Lynx almost starting to broach it, at least to Blake, saying, what was he talking about? Blake and Lena both just kind of being like, that, not right now. Lena's saying, it's fine, let's just continue training for now. We'll maybe talk to you guys later about it. But Lynx and Maya not really wanting to push their friends, as Lena herself seems a bit rattled from the whole situation. Blake still seeming a bit heated himself from whatever just happened there. Maya and Lynx sharing another sort of confused glance, but dropping it for now, not really wanting to push their new friends much farther. But as Dmitri has headed back out to his office, leaving the room from that conversation, just as he passes, Florence is actually just heading up to the stairs and was kind of hanging out by the top of the stairs, listening in for just a little bit to the end bit of that conversation, at least, sort of furrowing her own brow in confusion as she watches Dmitri walk past, trying to process what exactly Dmitri might have been talking about in that conversation that she overheard a bit of there, especially considering some other things that have been on her mind lately from her last conversations with people like Clementine. We're going to pretend it's a tiny bit darker out than it is in the game, but it should hopefully be somewhat dark soon, but I didn't want to wait too long. It's like 6 p.m. in the game. We're going to pretend it's a little closer to like 9 p.m. Like the sun's just gone down as we find ourselves on the outskirts of campus yet again, where we usually see the Pharaohs residing, but this time instead of just... Excuse me, hold on. Uno momento, because there's a very naked and not Twitch friendly Katrina Caliente walking by. On the outskirts of campus where we usually see the Pharaohs residing, there is one Birdie actually standing on the edge of campus here near the woods, near the edge of where the path ends on this side of campus, as Birdie's just kind of been pacing back and forth a little bit, because they remember what the random feral said to them when they came across her, when Lynx and Maya were having a little race in the previous episode. They're just saying to come to the perimeter of campus over on this side if they want to learn more. And honestly, it's kind of stuck in Birdie's head ever since then that they at least kind of wanted to check it out. They've heard a lot from the League about how dangerous the Ferals are by kind of like letting the primal side rule, but since the one that spoke to them was definitely not the visage that people like Florence has painted so far, and not really appreciating how much Yazmin has been prying into it, Birdie's just been having more and more of a suspicion that some of their anxieties to start about maybe not trusting the League with as much as Maya is, or with as much information as maybe the others want to give them. Birdie just wants to be able to, scientific brain, have both sides of the story and at least get some more information from the horse's mouth. So as much as that is the plan and what they want to do, they're still having trouble just actually kind of venturing into the woods. Not usually a scaredy cat. It's definitely not the most friendly and welcoming area of campus. There's been lots of tales of things going wrong in the forest that surrounds Solomon University. Excuse me, sorry. So frame's dying, but I think we're okay now. And it is actually dark. So as Birdie is kind of pacing here, though, trying to steel their nerves to actually enter the forest, also realizing that they don't exactly know where to go once they do so to find this person. The person in question actually is just walking up, kind of startling Birdie from behind as they're still pacing. The woman who spoke to them before, calling out to Birdie, just saying, been pacing there for a while, you gonna join us or what? As Birdie kind of jumps and turns back around saying, oh, hi, you are who I was looking for, I suppose, as the woman just kind of laughs and is like, yeah, I'm glad you came to see us. I guess I didn't introduce myself last time, did I? As Birdie just kind of stays a bit quiet, a little apprehensive, even if this is what they were here to do, as the woman kind of reaches out to them, holds out her hand, and says, worried about being vampire, sure, whatever. Excuse me, and says, my name's Vivian, and you are Birdie Birdie, yeah, I just mainly, I guess, wanted to get some answers after you mentioned that you're one of the ferals. I don't know if that's what you like to be called, or Vivian kind of laughing and just saying, I mean, it's what you guys call us. I don't personally have an opinion either way. I'm just one of the vampires like you. As Birdie kind of nods and is like, great, yes, of course, kind of trying to calm themselves down and feeling like a little bit more comfortable as the time goes on, and Birdie hasn't been, immediately decapitated already. Vivian kind of starting to walk ahead of them and motioning to follow and being like, well, if you wanted some answers, let's go talk then. Birdie kind of taking a big breath and following her into the forest as Vivian takes Birdie on over to the tribe's campfire over here. We'll get her to light it once they get here as well. Birdie's still a little nervous, just never having ventured this far into the forest before. Having heard plenty of tales of things going wrong here, but now wondering how many of them are exactly true, or how many of them are because of, people like Vivian sitting in front of them here. As Vivian just kind of stares at Birdie and starts off somewhat broadly going, well, I mean, came here for a reason, what do you want to know? Birdie's eyes going a little wide at that, as they are not exactly sure exact direct questions to ask here, expressing that to Vivian, saying, I don't know, I just know that you're not exactly what I was expecting from any of the descriptions that we've been given of the ferals so far. Vivian saying, I know, what have you heard of us so far? Could you all please show and tell can come later? Birdie continuing on saying that, I mean, I guess the League has just told us that you guys are pretty carnal. You guys attack other students and do drink human blood, so your powers are a lot less in check, meaning that you're kind of, I guess, as it's in the name, feral most of the time. But it always sounded like you were just kind of some incoherent, foaming at the mouth, bloodthirsty creatures, but I mean, here we are having a conversation, so I suppose not all of that is true. Vivian kind of chuckling at that and being like, well, I guess technically, I mean, we are bloodthirsty, aren't all of us? Birdie sort of laughing at that, but a little apprehensive still, as Vivian continues on, saying, well, I mean, it's a pretty unflattering depiction of my tribe, but I suppose it's not technically incorrect on all accounts. We decided to take the powers that nature has bestowed upon us here and behave as we were perhaps intended to. It seems, the League tends to try and tamper your guys' natural abilities, and there's just so much more here. I'll let her show off powers. There's just so much more that you're capable of when you don't try and mask yourself or keep yourself calm or try to harness it. I mean, I'm sure you've been told, at least to some degree, what kind of strength those of us hold inside of us, but you've never really been allowed to let it out, have you? Birdie's saying, no, I mean, I guess I haven't tried too much. It's been a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around all the things going on. I mean, I'm a student of science, so even just the existence of vampires, or whatever you want to call what we are, it's a little hard for me to still come to terms with, I guess, so I've not really tried too hard to express my powers or whatever. Vivian continuing on saying, yeah, well, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to really do so at the League, I suppose, anyways. Let me guess, they're, trying to make sure you can keep them under control and, translation, not have any fun with them. Birdie, not necessarily the appeal that will work the most with Birdie, but just sort of letting Vivian continue on as, Vivian's like, listen, they preach a lot of truth and integrity and honorable behavior over there, but really, it's just a dictatorship. They just want to keep you down when where I come from, where I tend to reside, we don't want to stifle you like that. We just want to let ourselves, be who we are. Why would we try and mask that or hide it? I mean, how offensive to try and act like it's something that you should be hiding and such. I mean, I suppose if we want to continue on in society, but why want to continue on in a society like that would just shun those of us when, we could really be the ones in charge if we tried. Birdie is still a little uncomfortable with what exactly Vivian is saying, but letting her continue, wanting to hear the point of view still, of course, as Vivian's like, thank God I was gathered by, Mother before the League ever got to me, so I never had to go through any stupid practicing like you did to, keep yourself in check or whatever, but they say that we're the ones that that are the cause of people going missing all the time, but they don't want to admit that if anyone ever even speaks out against their holy teachings or whatever, it's not like those people are ever heard from again either. Stream okay? My graphics card died for a second. Okay, I think we're good. But, as she is speaking here, another face has kind of joined them and sat down next to Vivian, kind of startling both of them as Birdie's been intensely focusing on what Vivian's saying. Vivian kind of enraptured and, boasting and regaling information about their lifestyle. Aster kind of intimidatingly sitting down and startling both of them as she says, and who's this? Vivian kind of looking a little bit more scared than the confident smugness that she's had on so far. Going, Mother, sorry. This is Birdie, one of the new suits, like I told you I came across. Aster going, I see, and I don't remember telling you that you could bring one of the Leaguers into camp. As Vivian starts to look a little bit more sheepish now, but saying, they just kind of showed up, and they were interested in us and wanted the information, and I was just hoping to make them feel at home. Aster just kind of, tutting and cutting her off as she sort of rambles and tries to continue explaining herself, as Aster's like, I'm the one who gets to decide who feels at home here, not you. As Vivian pushes back a little bit, though, and is like, well, you're the one who always has that other League girl around all the time. Birdie kind of squinting at that as Aster narrows her own gaze at Vivian, going, yeah, because this is my tribe, and I get to decide who is here when. And that's not any of your concern. Now, Birdie, as Birdie kind of nervously nods over at Aster as she says, listen, hopefully, as it's in your best interest, any little information that dear Vivian has shared with you tonight will stay between us around this campfire here. Wouldn't want to hear of any of these tales getting back to the League. Now, we try and keep a, pretty low profile out here on our own, as the whole point is just kind of doing our own thing out in the wilderness, living amongst nature, and not being tied down at your lair and whatnot over there. I mean, I should know that it's can be a bit stifling to be there, and so I found that living in the wilderness like this can be a bit freeing. If you decide that you feel the same, feel free to visit us, but let's just make sure I'm aware of it next time, alright? As she gives another pointed look over at Vivian kind of nodding there, as Birdie's like, yeah, for sure, I wasn't planning on sharing anything. I've not said much to the League anyways, as Aster seems a little bit impressed at that, nodding, saying, oh, good, well, maybe you're not one of the dumb sheep like the rest of the people that run around that place, so we would love to have more people come see the truth of the matter along on our side. If that's anything that interests you, so just keep us in mind next time you're being chastised for speaking out of line or whatnot. Birdie kind of understanding what they're saying, but not necessarily wanting to give too many opinions one way or the other, and noticing that there is a bit of tension here and feeling a lot less easy around this new red-headed woman that has sat down with them than Vivian when she was discussing things with Birdie. Birdie is gonna kind of realize that it is getting a bit late and say, yeah, for sure, thank you, this has been enlightening, actually, but I should be getting back before my roommates think I've gotten killed or something, so thank you, ladies, for everything, and I will see you later, maybe, I guess, as Aster kind of gives them the once-over and is like, yeah, I hope that we do. Birdie's still a little bit nervous and scared as they leave the forest, but not lying to the other two, as it has given Birdie a lot to think about, seeing the vast differences between how the League talks about the Ferals and how they actually act, and almost feeling a little bit validated that some of their worries about the League's trustworthiness have been a bit validated tonight, even if they're not sure exactly what to do with some of this information, or if they want to even tell their roommates quite yet. As we are catching up in the archives, actually, with Florence, who has been down here for a while today, looking through some of the books in the archives. She's been kind of doing a lot of research on her own lately into a couple of things. She's had a few suspicions and is trying to confirm some of them, but she's a little bit disgruntled herself in her own research here, as she's not really necessarily coming along what she is looking for, as she tosses another book to the side, going over to the archives here that are a little bit rifled through more than usual, honestly, as she actually makes her way over to one of the other bookcases, one of the locked ones over here with some of the other really ancient and protected tomes, not really wanting to do this, but kind of looking as a last resort into the locked credenza over here, as she sort of looks in there, and as she's looking through, her stomach starts to, pin in her stomach starts to form, as it, her heart kind of drops for a minute, as some of her theories have been a bit realized, looking through these tomes, and a few of the tomes are missing here, as these are some of the most powerful spells that are housed in the lair in the League's archives, and some of the more dangerous and dark tomes of magic as well. Florence letting out a heavy and shaky sigh as she rifles through them and notices how many gaps in some of the literature there are in the archives here, that she's not studied herself, as it would be quite dangerous to even read through them, but knowing what should be there, glancing at the numbers and the spaces missing, places where dust has been disturbed after decades and decades of not being touched for any reason. Florence just kind of shaking her head and grumbling to herself, like, God damn it, Dmitri. As she quickly replaces whatever tomes have been left there and locks back up the credenza, disheartened, leaving the room a bit disheartened. They're not really wanting some of her suspicions to be confirmed, but wanting to get out of there without raising too much suspicion as she leaves and starts to head down the hallway, but hearing some pretty guttural screams coming from the other end of the hallway, where she is aware that they have the prisoner being kept. Some clattering and banging and other kind of upsetting sounds coming from there as she furrows her brow a little bit more and notices that Caesar has actually burst out of the room looking quite upset, breathing quite heavily, and almost looking a bit nauseous as he seems to be kind of trying to gather himself and almost calm himself down from a panic attack as Florence goes over to him and starts to approach him sort of double taking and trying to put on a bit more of a calm facade as he notices Florence coming over to him, as Florence reaches out and tries to just comfortingly pat his arm, saying, are you okay? Caesar quickly kind of trying to calm his nerves again and say, yeah, everything's fine, Florence. No worries, carry on. Florence squinting and definitely not believing him at that and saying, it's okay if it's not. What exactly is going on in there? Caesar definitely seeming a little bit more nervous at that now and going, Dmitri's interrogating the prisoner like he said he would be. Florence's gaze narrowing again at that and going, right, as I feared. And how exactly is he interrogating the prisoner that we now have in our lair? Because we hold prisoners now. Not really hiding the snark in her voice, of course, as Caesar is still seeming a little uneasy himself and just saying, he's interrogating him whatever ways that he knows. How, Headmaster Solomon knows what the best decisions are, so I trust him to carry on in the best way. As Florence notices, like, it's still seeing that Caesar seems pretty shaken up and is looking a little bit green still. Florence trying to put on a bit more of her comforting motherly tone and saying, well, that doesn't mean that you have to agree with whatever he's doing in there. That kind of startling Caesar as he narrows his own gaze back at Florence and saying, what are you talking about? I didn't say No, I trust Headmaster Solomon wholeheartedly, of course, as we all should. Florence, responding, I mean, should we all? Caesar, you don't have to put up this tough guy front. You're clearly a bit startled by whatever you just saw in there. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Caesar definitely bristling at that and letting out a huff, saying, like, nope, Florence, you don't... Headmaster Solomon knows what's best, and I'm fine, and you're clearly mistaken. Maybe you should take the reading glasses off because I'm fine. Okay, and it's probably wise if you don't question him either, alright? Wrong person. As Caesar kind of bristles past Florence, like, shoulder checking her a tiny bit as he walks past, Florence letting out a heavy sigh as Caesar stomps on up the... pretend. Shh, Dimitri's downstairs. Caesar kind of angrily stomping up the stairs as Florence lets out a heavy sigh, not necessarily expecting that was going to go well, but now feeling, just with every interaction she tends to have lately, just feeling even more and more unsettled and concerned that there's something a lot more sinister and upsetting at play than she was hoping at first. And with that, we'll let Florence kind of settle herself as well. Still concerned for Caesar, but not knowing that she's not going to necessarily get anywhere with Dmitri's right-hand man, at least at the moment. We are returning to the lab here as Birdie and Lin are, of course, hard at work as they continue to be most nights late at the lab here, just working on stuff. Birdie at least having given Lin a few more blood slides of their own blood to look at, although it seems that it's still kind of resulting in the same analysis of pretty normal looking blood, much to Birdie's discouragement. But to not get too disgruntled on that, Birdie has been kind of focusing more on doing the research on whatever Diana was working on, as they did have the revelation, at least last time, that they've recently realized, even though Lin did not realize that he did help with one of Lin's anecdotes, that Diana was at least trying to figure out a way for the vampires to be able to eat human food again without it making them nauseous. And so Birdie's just been kind of trying to study on that, because once they at least figured out the key linchpin of, oh, this is what she was trying to figure out, it's been a huge help in piecing together some of the notes and figuring out some of their transfiguration spells and trying to see if they can figure out an actual solution to the problem, because it seemed like Diana was close, and maybe Birdie is the one who can put together the final pieces and actually come up with the final solution, or potion, rather. And so Birdie's just been kind of letting Lin mainly do the blood sample analysis, because it can be kind of tedious work on the side project of figuring out biologically what the vampires are. And even though they are in the science lab, Birdie's been thinking that maybe putting a bit more of a scientific spin on it, thinking like Lin, thinking a little bit outside of the box, and practicing some of the spell stuff and looking at it from a more molecular scientific level with some of the advancements in technology that Diana wouldn't have had in the 70s when she was working on this stuff. Birdie's just been kind of working on whatever Diana's potion recipe that she's been putting together is, and they've been getting so close to figuring it out. And with Lin working away on the blood samples over there, I don't know, just want to do something on the computer, and finally figuring out all the notes together, and putting together a sample, as they've made a couple little samples of something of some things from the lab, some things that they, ingredients and potions together, and some of the samples that they brought to the lab to study on a molecular level as well, kind of combined together, just trying to try one more thing on a whim. They think they've kind of got a solution, and not really wanting to wait any more time. Just going to kind of put some things together, pretend that it's kind of, just like a protein drink, like an energy drink that they're putting together. Lin being pretty focused as well anyways, and not necessarily paying attention to what Birdie's doing, pouring a little bit of this potion, a little bit of that together, and taking a bit of a sip, not being the most pleasant liquid, but being able to drink it down, and then deciding, all right, here goes it, why not try, as they pull out a granola bar they brought with them, just to, in the hopes that maybe this spell and this potion has worked. I don't know if there's an actual vending machine I can grab food from. Let's just pretend that they have a granola bar, though, and, no, it's expecting the worst, but trying to remain hopeful, taking a bite of a granola bar for the first time in a very long time, and finding that it actually tastes pretty good, and is not really making their stomach upset, and kind of scarfing down the entire thing, and not even feeling as fulfilling as the plasma packs necessarily, but not making them sick, as Birdie's eyes kind of light up, finally making some progress in at least some arena. Birdie jumping up in the air and clapping their hands, kind of startling Lin as he pulls out one of his headphones, being like, you're right. Not really knowing if it was a yelp of pain or if it was a yelp of celebration, as Birdie just kind of exclaims out loud, like, "Oh, I did it! Diana, you duplicitous bitch, I got it!" So Lynn is just continuing to be pretty confused by whatever the hell's going on around Birdie most of the time. Birdie just wrapped up in the excitement and grabbing Lynn and like pulling him into a huge hug, as Lynn's like, who's Diana? And Birdie just kind of brushing off, being like, don't worry about it. Just Lynn being like, so did you figure something out, or what's going on? Is it that good of a granola bar? Birdie being like, oh my god, you have no idea, and you're not going to, but just celebrate with me, because yes, something big has happened, and I can't tell you, but just celebrate with me, bitch. Lynn's kind of confused, but wrapped up in Birdie's infectious smile and excitement as he kind of chuckles. Is like, okay. Sure, Birdie is saying, let's go get as many more snacks as we can from the vending machine. Super hyped up that, yes, they've figured out the solution that Diana was working on for so long to be able to eat human food, at least as it seems in the first few moments here. Yet again, let's pretend that it is a tiny bit darker outside, just so we didn't have to waste the time of me zooming through the time in Sims too much, but we'll pretend it's a little bit darker in the game, as the sun is pretty much set at this point in the nighttime here, as we join our feral camp once more for the very last scene of the episode real quick, as Aster is looking over the scroll that, the prophetic scroll that Clementine gave her, of course, that she did use for the ritual a little bit ago, kind of furrowing her brow. She's been trying to kind of study it a little bit more and figure out what some of it means, as one of her underlings here that we've seen before. Of course, Sienna is looking over her shoulder, Aster's brow furrowing even further, as Sienna's kind of talking about the last sacrifice that they gathered for the previous ritual. Sienna being like, and so, I mean, he has a scar on his chest from, he had a football scar, like a scar from a football game on his chest, and see, like, there, it says, like, about the scarred child, so we figured, like, a guy with, like, a scar. Aster just looking thoroughly unimpressed as she continues to read and saying, and is that the only bit of it that you paid attention to and decided to look into? Also, where does it say that it's male? It says child. As Sienna starts to look a little bit sheepish at that, being like, oh, I guess we thought it said male somewhere, and I mean, the rest of it was kind of hard to figure out, so we figured the scar part was the easiest to look through. Aster starting to kind of growl under her breath as she continues to read through the prophecy here and hear the absolute dismal explanation that Sienna's giving her here. I mean, like, I don't know why I let idiots do anything for yourselves. Alright, clearly there's a lot more in this than you guys pulled out with your absolute genius detective work here. It's clearly not just about who, but when, and I don't know that our timing was right last time. But as it says, as the leaves start to fall, which they have more so lately, I think we're getting close to the time where it might actually work. And we should pay attention to more than just the line about the fucking scar, you idiot. Sienna just kind of nodding along, being like, yes, sorry, mother. Aster saying it's fine, as long as it's in my hands now, and you idiots stop doing things without my approval. But apparently I need to teach you guys how to read things a little bit less literally, because I doubt that any of these writings of these old fussy magicians is going to be anything exactly as it's written on this page here, and I don't know if I'm correct, but I have a suspicion I might know exactly who we need to make this ritual work this time, for good. But I'll let you help me with that when I have concrete answers. leave me for now, but I think things will be looking up for us soon. As Sienna does kind of bow and leave Aster to be, as Aster continues to study along with the tomes, concocting some ideas in her head and pondering over things here, as we will leave her to do so. A little bit of a really vague end stinger for this one, but we will leave them here for tonight, as look at that, 11:30, perfect timing. We will end off the episode here. So thank you for watching. Sorry, I was pulling up the prophecy on my phone because I didn't want to scroll all the way up in my script to the other episode to get it, to read a couple little lines there. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for sticking around with me. I know that it was a little bit of a, I feel like this was a little bit of a different episode. We just have a lot of plots here, and I need to kind of bridge some things before we get into where things pop off a little bit in the last couple episodes. So a little bit less focus on our main leads here, but I think we made some good progress with some other side things going along. A bit more of a focus on Birdie too, since Maya and Lynx kind of got a bit more of a spotlight with their little fun betting plot line last episode. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I had fun. I hope you're excited to see the rest of Sharpest Tool and how we end off season 1. And other than that, yeah, thank you for being here. I appreciate your viewership and your support as always. Let me know what you think in the Discord if you have any other thoughts about the show or anything else I got going on. And with that being said, I will talk to you all later. So I love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you all next time.